Welcome back. This is the second video for the bracketing part of the WTM software, available at souffle.com, and we're going to go find out what we're going to do with the bracketing part. So here we are. Here's where we left off. We had all the names into the brackets and we're ready to do the seeding. Now this could be done. You could have typed in all these names into the names entry list, or it could have gotten in there a whole bunch of different ways from the name entry list that we did earlier, or from even another option, which is where you can get the placers from previous tournaments. So we're ready to do some seeding. To do that, I already sorted the names by the extra info for this particular weight class, and I noticed that I have a 16 and 6, 13 and 6, 12 and 2. This wrestler may be a pretty tough wrestler. Here we have a Clark County, a 6th place in a tournament. So these two, you may be sitting there with this on a video screen with coaches talking about who's going to be seeded what, or you might be doing the seeding because it's your tournament and you're ready to go. So you may look at this and say, well, here's the better record. We'll just seed him number 1. So you just double click on that guy and put him in the number 1 seed. Automatically, the arrow drops to number 2 and you're ready to seed the second wrestler. So at this point, if you didn't want to seed the second wrestler, you could go and click on 4, and then anyone that you double click here would go to number 4. But we're not going to do that. We're going to go back to number 1. Excuse me, to number 2. Now, at this point, I look at what I've got. Maybe we want to put the 16 and 6 number 2. So we'll double click him at 16 and 6 and put him at number 2. And now we've got a 7 and 2 Clark County 3rd. Uh-oh, maybe we should have had him at number 2. He's also a state alternate. So what I want to do is I'm just going to click this back to 2 and double click this guy in that spot. What that does is it sends the previous guy to the bottom of the names list, and I can go ahead and double click him into the 3rd position. The 4th one is where I'm ready to go for the rest of it. Well, we've got a state 8th. We made a big mistake. Here's a state placer. I don't know why he's 13 and 6, but he was 8th at state. So what we're going to do is maybe we want to put that guy second. So we can do the same thing we just did. We can click on second place. We can double click him there. We can then take the second seed, which is now going to 3rd, double click him there, and now double click him into 4th. Very easy rotation and revolution. There is also a roll seeds, where if we had a whole bunch filled, we could roll all the seeds and position a person into a particular place. Next thing, what we want to do is we've got a whole bunch of wrestlers here, and we don't know who's going to go where or who's good. Here's a non-scorer. Maybe he's in the same place with this 8th and state gentleman, or maybe some coach says, hey, we want to swap the number 1 and 2 seeds. We can swap that too. There's a lot of things that can happen at this point, especially if you've got coaches talking and not listening. So you could do the swap. There's a swap for that. I'll just swap that to show you how that works. We hit the swap button. It says enter the first seed, so we're going to take number 1 and swap number 1 with number 2. Hit enter, and it makes the swap, and those two guys are swapped. At this point, I don't know who's 5th. I'm just going to say, okay, coaches say, well, we don't have any big seeding criteria to go any further than 4th, so how about just taking the next best wrestlers and put them in the random shaker. So we've got an even record here, here, and even here. We've got better than an even record. So we'll put those in the random shaker. And at this point, I've got the arrow at 5, so I just randomly select somebody from there, and next, and all the way to 9th, it looks like. Now, the rest of these 5 wrestlers in the 7 spots are going to go in the shaker, and we'll just clear those in there. Now, I've got 2 buys, and to make the buys random, we're just going to type in a buy and a buy, and now we have 7 wrestlers in the random shaker with 7 spots left. And I can go ahead and randomly place them at 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. And they're all in there. There were no conflicts. It would automatically take wrestlers from the same team and put them in opposite half brackets. If there was a problem, it would tell you. Notice the buys, you lucked out, and the buys turned out in one in each half bracket, so you don't need to do any changes there. If there were problems with the buys, you need to do some swapping. And that might be something that the coaches might want to talk about. Who knows? But at this point, we're done. We're ready to go on. You can go ahead and print that bracket. You could even print the bout sheets for that bracket. At this point, I want to go to the things that you can print and take a look. So we go to bracket here, and here's the bracket all done for you, all set up, first through whatever. You can go ahead and print this bracket, add a date or time to the bracket so coaches can see when this thing came out. You'll notice all the times that we put in earlier in the setup appear here. If we go to show bracket and show constellation, you can see the times in the constellations as well. So we're going to exit here and go back, and we can go to the next weight class and go through the same thing there. So we've got 13 names. I want to sort the names by the extra info and go through and position those wrestlers all into the tournament. You'll notice here's a state and a Clark County first, so we go ahead and click in at number 1. Here's a Clark County and a Pack goes 4. So that person might be the number 2. Of course, we can have all kinds of things happening with the coaches in discussions here. You'll notice that I didn't send my wrestler to the bracket because I had this set to the shaker. Very important. Take a look at where you're sending things. So I'm going to click this back to the bracket, and since there's only one here, I can randomly place them there. And I'm ready to go. This will go to number 2 now. Double click. If you look at the records, it doesn't look like much, so we'll just go ahead 3 and 4, and we'll place those guys in the shaker and go on from there. At this point, we'll pause and take a look at some other things we can do later. While going through further in these brackets, you may notice some different things happen. Here's an example of a case where the coach used an O instead of a 0 for this 0 and 6 record, and it actually put his abbreviation at the end of that. When we finally put this guy into the bracket, what we'll do is we'll actually pull that out. Now, I could actually send him right now to seat number 2 and fix that by just changing this, moving his abbreviation over, and then putting 0 dash, and then hit enter. And then I'll take this and send it back. By double clicking, it sends him back here. He's an 0 and 6, so it's at the bottom of the list anyway. You'll notice how things are sorted. Here's a 17, and he must have used something strange for a dash, 17 and 6. 4th at Clark County. So what happens here is it takes the record first and the team information, or the previous tournament information second, because it's alphabetic. So what we've got to do here is we have to understand that, okay, we're looking at tournaments first and then maybe records second. So we go ahead and sort that and put this in the program. When I get done with all my weight classes, I'm going to go back here to, let's take 113. You'll notice I have all this information at the end. I don't want to have that on any of my bout sheets or anyplace else. So all I do is clear the extra info from all the names. So that will clear that for that particular weight. If I go back to 106, I can clear the extra information here. At this point, you have a pretty good idea how you can see the bracket and set it all up. So we're going to stop right now, and then we're going to move on a little bit more of this and maybe get into scoring.